I will go on in a few minutes. 1 minute. Just had to set up everything. We have had a snowstorm here, so Aaron Smith has just texted me. Light and sound good. Yay. That's what we want to hear. All right. Jackie Healy has texted all the way from the wilds of Manhattan. Ooh. Hang on, Jackie. Help is on its way. Yay. That's her call sign, by the way. Yay. So good evening. This is the Tibet Center, Kunchab Tarduling, a Buddhist meditation and study center located in New York City and northern New Jersey. And since our New York City location was closed because of the snow, we're doing it from the parsonage here in South Orange, New Jersey. All the prayers we say are on the Tibet Center website in the FAQ section. If there's anyone for whom you wish us to pray for has recently passed away, send their names in. This is our twice weekly presentation of the Buddha Dharma, specifically Stages on the Path to Enlightenment, the Lamrim Chenmo. And we are an organization under the direction of His Eminence Chab Ling Rinpoche and under the co-direction of Rato Kenser Thupten Lunda, or Venerable Nikki Vreeland. So if there's any problems, sound or transmission or light, let me know. Text me. Don't call, because it might knock the thing off. Who knows? It's wacky. So prayer for the spread of the teachings throughout the length of the breadth and breadth of the West. By the force of the blessings of the non-fallacious three precious gems and of the truth of our pure selfless wishes, may the precious Buddhist teachings flourish and spread to the expanse of all areas throughout the length and breadth of the West. For all the people living here together with their near ones, who have engaged in the teachings and have faith and respect for them, may all conditions adverse to their practice of the pure Dharma be dispelled, and an excellent collection of favorable conditions increase like the waxing moon, and especially for those who work on methods to accomplish the flourishing and spreading of the victorious one's teachings, which are the source of benefit and happiness. May they never be oppressed by masses of interference and adverse conditions, and may this spontaneously happen just as we have hoped and wished. The Heart Sutra. Thus have I heard once. The Blessed One was dwelling in the royal domain of the Vulture Peak Mountain, together with a big gathering of great monks and great bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One entered the samadhi which examines the dharmas called profound illumination, and at the same time, noble Avalokiteshvara, the bodhisattva, Mahasattva, looking at the profound practice of transcendent knowledge, saw the five skandhas in their natural emptiness. Then, through the inspiration of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to Avalokiteshvara, how should those noble ones learn who wish to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge? And Avalokiteshvara answered, Venerable Shariputra, whoever wishes to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge should look at it like this, seeing the five skandhas in their natural emptiness. Form is empty. Emptiness itself is form. Emptiness is not separate from form. Form is not separate from emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discriminating awareness, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Thus, all the dharmas are empty and have no characteristics. They are unborn and unceasing. They are not impure or pure. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, since there is emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discriminating awareness, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no sensation, no objects of mind, no quality of sight, no quality of hearing, no quality of smelling, no quality of tasting, no quality of sensing, no quality of thought, no quality of mind consciousness. There are no nidanas from ignorance to old age and death, nor their wearing out. There is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no ending of suffering, and no path, no wisdom, no attainment, no non-attainment. Therefore, since there is no attainment, the bodhisattvas abide by means of transcendent knowledge. And since there is no obscurity of mind, they have no fear. They transcend falsity and pass beyond the bounds of sorrow. All the Buddhas who dwell in the past, present, and future by means of transcendent knowledge fully and clearly awakened to unsurpassed, true, complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of transcendent knowledge, the mantra of deep insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequaled mantra, the mantra which calms all suffering should be known as truth, for there is no deception. In transcendent knowledge, the mantra is proclaimed, Tayata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasam Gate Bodhisoha. O Shariputra, this is how a bodhisattva mahasattva should learn profound transcendent knowledge. Then the Blessed One arose from that samadhi and praised the bodhisattva mahasattva Avalokiteshvara, saying, Good, O son of noble family, profound transcendent knowledge should be practiced just as you have taught, and the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, Shariputra and Avalokiteshvara, that whole gathering in the world with its gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, their hearts full of joy, praised the words of the Blessed One and got rid of the cat temporarily. Bodhisattva vow and refuge. We recite this 3 times. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. So good evening and welcome to winter. Actually, this feels more like New Year's than the regular New Year, so maybe there's something to this Lunar New Year business. Anyway, so on tap tonight, the program will be first a little poetry to ease into the new year, 7th Dalai Lama. Then we'll do a little low rig, as I had promised we didn't get to last time. And then we will resume our fun and games with the Lamrim, Volume 3. We're up to Chapter 15. Production is not negated. So you want to take your aspirin now, you can do so. Anyway, relax and listen to this nice song from this old-fashioned book. It's still around in different titles, Songs of Spiritual Change. It's the poetry of the 7th Dalai Lama. I think tomorrow night, Venerable Karuna is giving you some poetry of the 6th Dalai Lama. So you're getting a whole literature class here on the house. How's that? Huh? Anyway, this is called A Song in Couplets. And notice the reciprocity, that's the word, between subject-object and how things are happening without intention, etc. and so forth. Anyway, let the poem speak for itself. I will. Okay. A Song in Couplets, and this is from page 129 of this particular edition, who knows, translated by Zogada himself, Glenn Mullen. A young tiger-like bee holds no great lust for sweetness, yet when the lotus flower has nectar, to drink is that very bee's nature. Drawn to it. The dakinis who fly below and above have abandoned all ordinary hate and love. Yet when one's yogic practice has mystic discipline, the dakinis release great bliss essence. They're receptive, it happens. The next verse, the sun, this world illuminating, no sense of pride entertaining. From high in the heavens is shining, a result of the merit of beings. You think of the sun as a result of our merit? It is, if you think carefully. Should the sun of wisdom and method throughout a pure, clear mind be spread, of arrogance and haughtiness there is none, yet unto the world one is a gem. Next verse, the bright white moon, gently smiling, in actual size is not changing. The sun's light makes it wax and wane, as sun, moon, and earth alter position. The Guru, embodiment of all highest saints, actually never improves or degenerates. Yet as the disciple's negative karmas ripen, he mistakenly understands the Guru's three perfect dances. There's pronouns in here. I'll leave them as they are. I won't go he, she, but understand the times. So they mistakenly understand the Guru's three perfect dances of Dharmakaya, Namanikaya, Sambhogakaya. Probably like that. I'm not sure. The next verse, the stars, jewel ornaments of space, with one another do not run race. Because of the Earth's rotation, they swing across the heavens. The gurus, tantric deities, and dakinis of ambition know no feelings. In accordance with a man's spiritual evolution, they descend and grant liberation. The fresh white clouds hovering above, for altitudes have no love. Due to the nature of wind and heat, they are carried high, and high do sit. Those who strive the good to accomplish have their minds set not on prestige, yet as the wheels of karma slowly turn, their fires of honor ever burn. He's making it rhyme. It's good for him. Maybe this is a rap song. Two more verses. The autumn sky, sparklingly clear, was not by any man polished so fair. When from transient shadows it is free, indeed it is a delight to the eye. The rootless ultimate nature of things, is not the creation of a recent thinker. When at last highest truth is known, false essence fades into itself and is gone. It's talking about final view reality, emptiness. It wasn't created, it's always there. So he said, when at last the highest truth is known, false essence fades and into itself. If all fades into itself and is gone. Final verse, the rainbow with its radiance and play has no basis on which to rely. From conditions and the workings of lights, magically spring five so bright, five colors of rainbow. The things that appear outside and in have no self-nature to reveal. From the fantasies of an ill-taught mind, we know a reality with false images entwined. You get it? So we're going to examine these false images and this reality, etc. We have. Anyway, I recommend this book highly. It's all different titles now, but Seventh Dalai Lama was a very, very religious person. A very interesting tantric yogi. Very, very sweet, very helpful. His writings are very good, prose and poetry. You don't need me to tell you that. Everyone knows. So now, low rig, sometimes called mind and awareness, mind and mental factors, this, that, and the other. This is from the second volume of the series, Library of Wisdom and Compassion. His Holiness and the Venerable Tipton Chodron have composed sort of like a new Lam Rim. I'll say no more. I repeat that all the time. So this is a section which is entitled Consciousness, Mind and Mental Factors. It's a lot of data here and stuff. This, by the way, correlates. If you want just a straight listing of this and that, the 10 this, the 10... Jeffrey Hopkins' Meditation on Emptiness, go to page 235. It starts there. Main minds, mental factors, contributing, all the other side things. I won't go on. But it's all in there if you want this textbook layout of an enumeration. A lot of charts, a very good chart, as a matter of fact, on, I think, 239. But anyway, if you have the time and the inclination, dip into this book, Meditation on Emptiness. We have a copy of it here at the center. So on Saturdays when we have open house, sort of, you can come here and instead of talking about food and your health and everything else, you can sit upstairs for 5 minutes. Consciousness, mind and mental factors. There are many ways to speak about and classify types of consciousnesses. Mind and mental factors, conceptual and non-conceptual consciousnesses, the 7 types of awareness, and so forth. The Abhidharma makes the division of consciousness into mind and mental factors and describes the components of these categories. The original Abhidharma. Later Indian sages such as Asanga and Vasubandhu elaborated on those descriptions in their Compendium of Knowledge, the Abhidharma Samakaya, that's a Sangha, and treasury of knowledge, the Abhidharma Kosha, respectively. When referred to together, these two texts are called the two knowledges. All right, thanks. So I'm going to introduce the topic and sprinkle in very good practice advice, very good observance of the mind. So here he goes. Learning about mind and mental factors. Why do we do it? It enables us to better understand our mind. We will be able to identify in our own experience the mental factors that arise due to pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral feelings, and that in turn create the causes of happiness and suffering by motivating the actions or karma that we do. So there's your purpose right there. Watch the mind so you can moderate your behavior. Moderate your behavior. You don't suffer, you enjoy life. Such introspective awareness of our own mental processes is essential in order to tame and transform our mind. So you do need this raw data. You need this information, whatever you want to call it, structure, template of the mind. He continues, we will also understand that Dharma practice entails subduing the destructive mental factors that lead to misery in cyclic existence and enhancing the constructive ones that lead to happiness in cyclic existence, as well as to liberation and awakening. So even you shouldn't think, oh no, suffering, something. Oh, I got to gain liberation. While you are in cyclic existence, if you start modifying your behavior and start observing how things are coming into your mind and how you're dealing with it, and rely on this advice, Sarek life gets easier and easier for you to learn to get out of the place. And so just don't, there's reward even in this temporary, on the path. There is reward right on the path. So, and you'll find that out. The more you grasp it, learn something, you'll look back a year ago, this bothered me, now it doesn't. That's a big deal. You didn't have to take drugs for it to, so how's that? So these behavior patterns lead to liberation and awakening, also to happiness and cyclic existence. And this in turn will positively affect our thoughts, words, and deeds. The things that come up, the moods that are created, start to be attenuated, the bad ones. There's sort of a feeling of space in the mind, workability, whatever you want to call it. But just knowing these facts, thinking about them, and incorporating them into your intelligence. The core of the meditation on emptiness, as holiness goes on, is examining how the I or self exists. It appears to be very real and solid, but can it be found in the aggregates individually or in their collection or separate from the aggregates? Mind and mental complex? The physical and mental complex, rather, excuse me. It is not too difficult to understand that we are not the body, but the self strongly appears to be associated with the mind. Understanding the various types of mind and how they function will aid in understanding what the I is and is not, and its relationship to the aggregates. So right away we can make the distinction. I'm not my body, because obviously it's temporary, and we've come to that point in spiritual maturity. So now, but the mind, hey, now this is drawing you into the real target. Page 60. As noted above, all cognizers consist of a primary consciousness and various mental factors that accompany it. Primary consciousnesses are of 6 types, as mentioned above: visual, auditory, olfactory, gustatory, tactile, and mental primary consciousnesses. How's the data coming in? Eyes, ears, through the mind, generating as a thought. How is the screen filled that you start to react to? Each of these apprehends the fundamental presence of its object. Yeah, I see a piece of art. I smell something good cooking. Fun. Although a primary consciousness and its accompanying mental factors are different, when they arise together as one mental state, they are of the same nature. So now this doesn't have, they don't present themselves as, oh, there goes one, there's intention, there's discrimination, no, they come as a unit, like a sauce, which he's going to refer to soon. But now, for the sake of examining it, etc., we're freezing it and separating its parts. I guess yogis from long ago did this, wrote it down, and now we're helped by it. So that's nice. They always arise together. They are concomitant and share 5 similarities. So how do they arise together? Okay. They have the same basis. And he's given Sanskrit words, I guess, for the sake of, creating bakchas or imprints for future study. And also another word, we're getting a lot of technical data now in the next few minutes. You may not understand all of this. This is difficult in this, but let it come in because it's doing something deep. It's taking away any aversion you might have in the future. Because otherwise, you see, what's this? I don't want to even read this, but you've heard this before, and now maybe there'll be a little interest in the future. You won't reject it out of hand. In other words, so even hearing this, and not fully understanding and really, but accepting it somewhat helps you in the future. I was told this, I'm passing it on. So they have the same basis as Raya. They depend on the same cognitive faculty. Okay. So you see something and the mental factors go along with whatever that visual impact was. They share the same observed object, the alambana. They apprehend the same object. Okay. Both are generated in the same aspect or akara of the object. They reflect a similar aspect of the object. They occur at the same time. Well, of course. Kala is time in Sanskrit. They arise, abide, and cease simultaneously. So the main mind, its mental factors arise, abide, and cease simultaneously. And you can imagine this is like lightning going quickly. They have the same entity, dravya. Each mental state consists of only one primary consciousness and only one of each of its accompanying mental factors. Furthermore, the primary mind and all its accompanying mental factors are either conceptual or non-conceptual, either mistaken or non-mistaken. So now he's going to, this is a very different presentation, by the way, this from the standard that you'll get in Jeffrey Hopkins' book, the one that they learn in monasteries textbook. Not radically different, but a little different presentation because he's reacting to a Western mindset now. So the Pali scripture Milinda Panha, you know it as Questions of King Milinda Sutra. He was a Greek king in India, so I guess put there by Alexander the Great, who knows? But anyway, so they had, Souvlaki there and everything else. So that was good. The Question of King Milinda, the Milinda Panha says, it contains an excellent example of the relationship of a primary consciousness and its accompanying mental factors. Here's a very nice illustration. So the king asked for an explanation of this. What is it? He asked the monk Nagasena. You heard of him before. Nagasena Thera. He's an elder. Whether mental factors can be separated out such that we can see them at different parts of the puzzle. Hey, you're giving me this. So separate them out so I can see them as they're going on. Oh, there, that's this. And Nagasena, this is contact, this is feeling, this is mentation, the king said, and this is discrimination. The king said, why can't it be like that? I heard. And Nagasena Thera replied by asking if the king would be able to pick out each flavor separate from the others. When the royal cook made a syrup or a sauce with curds, salt, ginger, cumin, seed, pepper, and other ingredients, would you separate them? Clearly, this would not be possible. All the flavors together give the sauce its taste, even though each ingredient adds its own unique flavor. Sometimes you can pick up chili or something, but there's a lot of other flavors that if they do it right, the parts are better, the whole is better than the parts, all right? So similarly, the various mental factors accompanying a primary consciousness function together and cannot be separated out since they share the same basis. Observed object, aspect, time, and entity. They all observe the same. They're at the same time. The entity, the observed object, etc. Nevertheless, the primary consciousness and each mental factor perform its unique functions and contribute its own flavor to what? To the cognizer. So all those things are in play. So you can see, depending on your personality and your karma, your background, etc., what's going to dominates and why you see things a certain way and why other people see the same thing a little different. It evokes a nice mood in someone else. It evokes horror in somebody else. This has all been figured out for us. So good. So we don't have to go spend eons figuring this out. We have good karma to come here to hear these teachings, to the blessings of Rato Chungla and all those lamas. So we're blessed. So to give another example, as Honius goes on page 61, the primary consciousness is like the main light in a room. Oh, which we have here. You can see the main light. While its accompanying mental factors are like other lights in the same room. While each light is distinct, they blend together to illuminate the room. The fact that an auditory primary consciousness is present means that all of its accompanying mental factors also perceive the sound. If the mental factor of feeling, for instance, experiences pleasure, the entire mental state is pleasurable. The mental factors described below are not an exhaustive list. You want the exhaustive list? Page 235, starting there in Jeffrey Hopkins' Meditation on Emptiness. Fairly exhaustive. They are the principal ones that must be abandoned or cultivated in order to attain liberation. So he goes to the chase. These are the essential things you need. Concentrate on these. They'll give you great benefit. And once you get some benefit from this, you're on fire. You can't resist looking into the day and night. So their enumeration, and His Holiness goes on, and precise definitions may differ according to the specific Abhidharma text. Be aware. Here, the prominent mental factors are counted as 51 and divided into 6 groups in accordance with the Compendium of Knowledge, the Abhidharma Kosha. There's 5 omnipresent mental factors, 5 object ascertaining mental factors. These are all categories, not single thing. 11 virtuous mental factors, 6 root afflictions. Yay, no. 20 secondary afflictions, and 4 variable mental factors. 5 omnipresent mental factors. You always have them, whether you like it or not. What? They have no choice. This is by their reckoning. So, and remember, these things are reckoned with the idea of not just telling you about them, that you can apply them and change your life. Lives, plural. So the 5 omnipresent mental factors accompany all minds. Without them, complete cognition of an object cannot occur. You want complete cognition or realization of an object, you have to have these 5 things operating. First, feeling. It's always there. Is an experience of pleasure, pain, or neutrality. It may not be blatant. Maybe it's slight, Feeling experiences the result of our past actions. Well, that's where that comes from. Why we take certain things with pleasure or pain, right? And can lead to reactions of attachment, anger, confusion, and so forth, and so forth. Second category, or second of the 5 omnipresent mental factors, like a basketball team. You got to have these 5. Discrimination. What does that do? It functions to distinguish. It is this and it's not that component of our minds. And to apprehend the characteristics of an object. It differentiates and it identifies its object, as the word discrimination means. Third is intention, a bomb. This is the big one, a big one. Chetana in Sanskrit. Sounds like Chandan in Italian, but it's not 100 years. Setana. I guess setana. Intention. What does it do? It moves the primary consciousness and an accompanying mental factors to the object. Intention. It is the consciousness and automatic motivating element that causes the mind to involve itself with and apprehend its object. What is it? It is action. It is karma. Karma. Setana. Intention. Yes. That's why, and here's his thing. It is the conscious and automatic motivating element that causes the mind to involve itself with and apprehend its object. Through past karmas, you have a propensity to start going at that object or this, whatever. So this is big. It is action, it is karma. Although the mental factor of intention itself is not constructive, destructive, or neutral, it becomes so depending on what other mental factors, such as attachment or anger, accompany that mental state. So karma is just action, but what's accompanying it? What kind of action? Ooh, that's the criteria for whether it's positive, negative, or neutral. Let's hear it for the neutral. All right. Fourth mental factor, always around, whether you like it or not, attention. It's called mental engagement or manaskara in Sanskrit. Functions, wow, to direct the primary consciousness and its concomitant mental factors to the object and to actually apprehend the object. Attention. What does it do? It focuses and holds the mind on an object without allowing it to move elsewhere. Hopefully. Attention deficit, no. Hopefully. So that these things are happening lightning fast. The final one, 5, is contact or sparsa. You've heard of sparsa vajra? Contact. Contact. It connects the object, the cognitive facility, and primary consciousness, thereby acting as a basis for feelings of pleasure, pain, and indifference. It is the cause of feeling, besides karma. It is the cause of feeling. So he says now that the compendium of knowledge, this is interesting, says that the 5 omnipresent mental factors accompany all primary consciousnesses. The Abhidharma system of the Pali Canon, the metaphysics system of the Pali Canon, different, the fundamental vehicle, or now in vogue is the Pratimoksha vehicle. So it explains that each primary consciousness has 7 omnipresent mental factors. I haven't looked at this carefully and seriously. I don't know if they're the same and they broke one up into 2 or whatever, but here's the list. Contact, feeling, so far, discrimination, yes. And they this sometimes translated as perception. The old, the words, instead of discrimination, they'll say perception. The translators into English, whatever that. In Pali, the word is what? Sanna, Sanna, sanna. Attention or volition, chetana, the same word in Sanskrit. One-pointedness is another factor. Ekagata, life faculty or psychic life. Jivistidriya, and attention. Jivitindriya. I can't handle this. Sorry. Anyway, it's on page 62, and there's a note 17 attached to it, so we got to look that up. We're so curious. We can't forget. Always hit the footnotes in all these texts. They're valuable. So they just say, in the Sanskrit tradition, the life faculty, which we're saying is Jivitindriya, is classified as an abstract composite. As a state of living, it is the basis for consciousness and warmth. An abstract composite. Okay. So we'll leave it at that. Object ascertaining mental factors. We can go on with that. It'll get very thick. 11 virtuous, 6 root. If you want to hear all these, we can do it week by week, a little section at a time, because you can get overburdened with these lists of this and that, and they start to blend in together. For a mind like mine that's untrained, some of you have classes in this, maybe you handle this like, oh yeah, I know that. So I hope so. That would be nice. So we tried to hold off long enough, but we have to return to the Lamrim Chenmo. Chapter 15, and there's an argument about the use of Nagarjuna's, what they call that, tetra something, not from self, not from other, not from both, not from no cause. How do things arise? So the title of the chapter is simply "Production is not refuted." Don't you dare refute production. The big argument is that one group is talking about production, meaning inherent production. The other group, the Prasangas, are talking about production, meaning non-inherent production, mere production. And that's the crux of the whole screaming argument of the first 3 pages of this chapter. So we'll go to Lamrim first. I have Chungla's old copy. It's falling apart. Not his, but mine that I used. Took his notes down, I don't know, 1,000 years ago. Production is not refuted, and it's on page, if you have Lamrim 3, page 185. So I won't do the 2 headings. That just gets us. The first heading, first section says, you cannot eradicate conventional phenomena by refuting them through investigating whether they are produced in one of the 4 alternative ways. And what are they? Not from self, not from other, not from both, not from no cause, right? You've heard this. So we're going to pull that apart now. Objection. Right away, they start with an argument. Can't you get along? Madhyamaka refutes production from self, from another, and from both, as well as causeless production. I'm going to read this slowly and just let it sink in. And then for explanation, we'll turn to the great Geshe Sopa's book. And we'll get the whole. So just hear it now. Follow this topic at least. So Madhyamaka refutes production from self, from another. Non-Madhyamaka is saying this, and from both, as well as causeless production. Okay, yeah. Does this refute production? Now watch this, because they mean one thing, same word, but giving it different meanings. If you claim that it does, then since these four alternative types of production do not exist even conventionally in this Madhyamaka system, there is no need to add any qualifying phrase to the refutation of production. If you claim that it does not, then your refutation of the four alternatives of production fails to refute ultimate production. So Sankapai answers right away, we do not accept the former of these two positions. So I will explain and answer the latter. That if you claim that it does, that one, then your refutation of the four alternatives of production fails to refute ultimate production. Okay? We do refute ultimate production. I'm sorry. Even if it doesn't agree with you. So we don't accept the former. Now I will answer the latter. And Sakapa says, those who assert ultimate production, and here's a little note, ultimately existent production, that's what they mean. There's a little hint that Rinpoche gave us. Those who assert ultimately existent production must assert that it withstands analysis by reasoning that analyzes reality. You're saying this is ultimately produced? Okay. Can it withstand our reasoning that we shall see. As this is so, they must use reason to analyze production so as to discover which it is among the four alternatives. Is it production from self, from the other, both, and from none? Those four? Which one? Come on, tell me. Hence, those who assert ultimate production, Sankapa says, are definitely required to assert that it can be analytically fixed within one of the four alternatives. So where is it? He's saying, bring it. Because we assert mere production. There's a big word. The arising of particular effects in dependence on particular causes and conditions, we do not assert real, meaning inherent, production. So if you don't know these buzzwords, etc., you get a little confused. Fortunately, we were taught, so we're very lucky. Since we do not assert real production, no, we don't do that. Why would we use reasoning that analyzes reality to analyze production as to which it is, production from self, other, and so forth? For we are not required to assert that production withstands rational analysis. And little note from Rinpoche, ultimate production does not withstand rational analysis. In other words, it will not. He just added that in. So I wrote it down. I don't know. Moreover, dependent production itself refutes the four alternative types of production. As Chandrakirti's commentary on the Middle Way says, because things arise dependently, these mistaken conceptions cannot bear scrutiny, that they're inherent. We see that they're rising independence. Can't be inherent. Therefore, the reason of dependent arisings cuts all entanglements of bad views. Again, to bang the theme into your head, my head, yours, there's dependency, there's no inherency. It's reliance on something. It's not standing on its own, even though instinctively we think that. Yes, Mojo Nixon, I had him down. Sorry, somebody's interrupting. Who said that? I don't know. Yeah, he was a character. Anyway, middle of page 86 is 186. Page 186 of volume 3 is where we are now. Therefore, Chandrakirti asserts that dependent production refutes the four alternative types of production. However, you claim that there is no production from among the four alternative types. Then, even mere production does not exist. Hence, it seems that what you propose is the opposite of what Chandrakirti asserts. Chandrakirti's commentary on the Middle Way also says, because things are not produced, causelessly, or from causes such as a divine creator, or from self or other or both, or none, etc., and so forth. They are produced dependently. How else could they come around? That's what the situation is here. So these things obviously come and go, and so how did they? No creator, no this. They must be produced dependently. Okay. However, according to you, it would be contradictory for Chandrakirti to say this. Therefore, dependently produced, dependent arisings are free from the four extreme types of production. So do not ask that which is free from extremes, which of the four extremes is it? Once again, these opponents go wrong by not distinguishing no intrinsic production from no production. And we don't either, because now we're being trained, but that's it. So let me stop there because he's quoting Chandrakirti, but I'll go to Geshe Sopa first so we don't get too off base and see what he's referring to. Thank you, Geshe Sopa. This is his commentary, volume 5, and it's the 9th chapter, matching the 15th chapter. You don't have to worry about that. He mirrors the whole Lamrim, and all the quotes that Sankapa quotes, he throws in there most of the time. I'm on page 215 of volume 5 of Geshe Sopa's commentary on the Lamrim, Steps on the Path to Enlightenment. I'll read the first heading, not the two top ones. The distinguishing feature of Madhyama cannot be disproved by negating things from the perspective of examining whether or not they are produced in dependence on one of the four alternative means of production. He's going to talk about the four alternative means of production, the banner that they wave, Nagarjuna waves all the time. Most people accept that if something arises from causes and conditions, it must arise from one of the four alternatives: from self, from others, from both self and others, or without a cause. However, all four alternatives are negated by Madhyamikas, who base their view on the first stanza of Nagarjuna's fundamental treatise of the middle way, which I just said, I won't repeat it again, self, others, etc. An opponent raises the following objection. If this refutation of arising from the four alternatives negates production, then, according to this Madhyamika system, these four types of productions do not exist even conventionally. So there's no need to add any special qualifications such as ultimately. Conversely, if it does not negate production, then ultimate production is also not negated by this refutation of arising from the four alternatives. So, excuse me. We're negating only intrinsic production. Let's cut to the chase. That's what we're negating. If we consider ourselves Madhyamikas. So it's a long way to go for that, for real, but at least we're talking like that. Madhyamikas, Geshe Sopa goes on page 216, do not accept the first position, that refutation of arising from the four alternatives negates production in general. So Sankapa addresses only the second objection. So we don't reject production in general. So Sankapa talks about the second, that refutation of arising from the four alternatives does not negate ultimate production because it does not negate production in general. To take this position, one must assume that not every kind of production is included in the four alternatives. Oh, in other words, there is some form of production that is not any of the four alternatives. Sankapa argues that if you accept ultimate production now, then you must accept that production. You must accept that production is able to withstand ultimate analysis. So if you assert that, you have to say that if you're asserting something, can it withstand analysis? Ultimate perfection of inherent production, can it withstand analysis? No, I don't know. You must logically examine whether production is from self, others, from both, or without. So only by finding some kind of production through engaging in this analysis can we say that there is ultimate production. That's all. If you can prove that, then you can say, well, there it is, ultimate production. You can't. Let him continue. This analysis becomes the affirmation of ultimate arising, because if something arises inherently or by its own nature, it can be found to arise from one of these four alternatives. That's all that's talking about. If analysis does not find production from one of these four alternatives, There is no ultimate arising. Not all arising, no ultimate arising. This is, to us, it's cutting hairs, but to a meditator, this is, oh yeah, of course. Well, to me, it's tough. Sankapa says that the Madhyamikas accept mere production, the arising of a result independent on a cause, but they do not accept ultimate production. Because the Madhyamikas do not accept ultimate production, they are not obliged to accept that production is able to withstand ultimate analysis. We just say miracle. We're letting it go. If they were inherently existent, yes, that these things would come, but they don't. We know they're not, and we're just not getting in that argument. It's not needed. There is no need to examine mere production in general by means of ultimate analysis to determine whether it is produced from any of the four alternatives. We just let that ride. Oh yeah, I see it did this and then it happened. That's all you need for conventional life. Now you may wonder. I know you're wondering. Why don't the Madhyamikas accept the second of the four alternative means of production that results arise from other causes? They do, but not inherently. But I just slipped that in. So, and then he says, well, it's obvious they don't accept the first, that results arise from themselves. No, they disprove that. They don't accept the third because it's both from self and other. Well, you knocked out one already, so you can't use that. And it's the fourth, that results arise without a cause is impossible. So, so what is the, because if it arose without a cause, it would either never be there or always there. So it doesn't rise, nothing comes up without a cause. So His Holiness brought that out. So what is the matter with arising from others? Yeah. Actually, this is the basis of the difference between Svatantrika Madhyamika and Prasangika Madhyamika systems. I wish you didn't mention that. Then we have to think that way. Okay. The Svatantrika Madhyamika and the Yogacaras also, and other Buddhist systems assert that there is production from other causes. In a general context, when we say arising from others, the word others indicates that a cause and effect are different from each other, of course, because we're saying they're others. However, according to the Prasangika, this is not what is meant in the context of ultimate analysis. Sankapas explains, we use those words that way, here's what we mean. In the context of arising from others, others does not mean mere others, it means inherently existent others. So there's another place you can get hooked and Barb. It means inherently existent others. This means that arising from others refers to an inherently existent other result arising from an inherently existent arising from inherently existent other causes in that world. That's the world we all assume. So that's why it has to be argued. Why don't they just say, oh yeah, there's no inherent existence? Okay, well, because that's what we think is, and it's deep, deep, deep down. All our mental factors and main minds are cooperating with that wrong view. Therefore, the Prasangikas say that even production from others is conventionally non-existent. Inherently existent others, of course, not even conventional. It doesn't exist. A fine guide to keep your mind going is that whenever you hear the word inherent exists, it doesn't exist conventionally or at all. It doesn't exist. It's not there. So, moreover, mere productions means to arise in dependence on causes and conditions. This kind of dependent arising, used as a reason, refutes production from the four alternatives as follows. It disproves the arising from self, and it disproves the arising from inherently existent other causes. So it refutes the arising of these both together. And since it explicitly indicates arising in dependence on causes and conditions, it refutes the arising of without a cause. It said it's arising. Oh, so it's there. So you can't say without a cause, as we said before. Oh, so Chandrakirti's quote now, because things dependently arise, these notions cannot bear analysis. Thus, all nets of wrong views are severed. By this reason, dependent arising. Grasp a little of it. Just try and hear this, because now your deeper minds have heard this, and the blocks are being removed from your future understanding of this. You're getting the inclination towards. Rinpoche always emphasized that, getting inclination. I remember one time a dog came to class, Lavinia brought a dog, and he was lecturing on the Heart Sutra. At the end of the lecture, he went and pet the dog. So it's a lucky dog. He heard Prajna Paramita. He heard the Prajna Paramita. So take that as you wish. I was there. I saw it. Don't lie to me. Fishermen uses nets to catch fish. Geshe Sopo goes on page 217. No coffee around. That's the problem. Fishermen use nets to catch fish. Similarly, wrong views entrap sentient beings. I'm getting serious now. The logical reason of dependent arising cuts through all the nets of wrong views. Dependent arising itself is the reason that things are not inherently existent. We may see those appearances, but they're not there. Unless using this reason, you can prove that all things are not inherently existent and thereby conquer the ignorance that is the root of all mental afflictions. You think it out. And it's hard to think out. And slowly you think it out more and more. It becomes more and more familiar to you, more and more your own. And then it gets deeper and deeper in its meaning. It starts to really affect your behavior, which is what we're after. Less tension, less fear, less apprehension. There's a sense of, I can learn reality. I can see what's really going on, developing. That's very important. And that only you know, watching your mind, going inward. So over time. Yeah. Therefore, dependent arising is called the king of reasons. Shunyata, the emptiness of inherent existence, can be proved in various ways, but dependent arising is the most powerful proof of all. So a lot of time is spent on it. It alone cuts through the two extremes of nihilism and eternalism. The term dependent eliminates anything that exists inherently by its own nature or without a cause. It depends. Oh. The term arising shows that things exist and are not completely nothing. So you don't fall to either of those two extremes. Sankapa now addresses his opponent. Although Chandrakirti explains that dependent arising negates production from the four alternatives, you think that if something does not arise from one of the four alternative means of production, that there is no mere production at all. Then there's nothing. That's what they're saying. You seem to be saying the opposite of what Chandrakirti says. Again, he quotes from the introduction to the Middle Way to point out the contradiction between his opponent's positions and Chandrakirti's view. And the quote is, because things do not arise without a cause from others, such as Ishvara, or from themselves, others, or both, they are produced dependently. The Ishvara thing is like the creative deity that people, the God God created the whole place. That's the Ishvara. Ishvara stands for that meaning in the old system. So the human beings have had the same way of explaining things over the years. Helpful, temporarily helpful to, restrain behavior, etc. But you have to look into it more carefully. Chandrakirti says that because things dependently arise, they do not arise from the four ultimate means of production. Watch the words. In contrast, the opponents say that if something arises, it must be from one of the four ultimate means of production. The Samkhyas believe in a universal principle cause, I think Prakriti or something, which is indivisible, absolute, permanent, partless, and produces all things. It's permanent, yet it produces. There already can't be permanent and produce, because that's a change. Check the time. One more minute. Thus they believe that things arise from their own nature and are thereby self-producing. The lower Buddhist schools believe that things arise from inherently existent other causes that produce inherently existent other results. The Jains, so who sees them anymore, assert that things arise from both themselves and others. But Prasangikas assert that produced things do not arise from any of these putative causes. Instead, they arise dependently on causes and conditions. Have you heard that enough? Dependently arising things are free of the extremes, since they are free of the four extremes of production. Therefore, one should not ask, from which of the four extremes do they arise? The problem underlying such a question is an inability to distinguish between not arising inherently and not arising in general. And we will end it at that spot, because you probably heard these words constantly. They seem to be now flowing all over you. You heard them. Your mind, your smarter minds, your subtle minds have absorbed it. There'll be less resistance to looking into these things in the future. So I've been told. seems to work very slowly on me, these things. But anyway, for whom we pray, Mojo Nixon, yes, just the other, he died on that country cruise they have. I have the Sirius XM radio, so he's on it. He's a character. Very good iconoclast. You know, he was like in the Frank Zappa realm. But that's my generation, which is passing away. May I know who the teacher is? Yugu. Which teacher? Teacher's not me. I'm a student like the rest. I'm a presenter. Teacher can give you, meditate on this, write a prescription. And I'm not ordained, so I don't have that energy that an ordained person has. So I'm just like you. This is a study hall. So we're inviting Ling Rinpoche. And Darren, you have any other names? If so, speak now if I ever hold your peace. So Mojo Nixon, all the people involved in wars that are perishing, innocents mostly. Anyway, I prostrate to the omniscient one. Thus the Buddha, Bhagavata, Tathagata, Arahat, Samyak Sang Buddha, the learned and virtuous one, the Sugata, the knower of the world, the charioteer and tamer of beings, the unsurpassable one, the teacher of devas and humans is the Buddha Bhagavat. The Tathagata is in accord with all merit. He does not waste the roots of virtue. He is completely ornamented with all patience. He is the basis of the treasures of merit. He is adorned with the minor marks. He blossoms with the flowers of the major marks. His activity is timely and appropriate. Seeing him, he is without disharmony. He brings true joy to those who long with faith. His knowledge cannot be overpowered. His strengths cannot be challenged. He is the teacher of all sentient beings. He is the father of bodhisattvas. He is the king of noble ones. He is the guide of those who journey to the city of nirvana. He possesses immeasurable wisdom. He possesses inconceivable confidence. His speech is completely pure. His melody is pleasing. One never has enough of seeing him. His form is incomparable. He is not stained by the realm of desire. He is not stained by the realm of form. He is not affected by the formless realm. He is completely liberated from suffering. He is completely and utterly liberated from the skandhas. He is not possessed with dhatus. His ayatanas are controlled. He has completely cut the knots. He is completely liberated from extreme torment. He is liberated from craving. He has crossed over the river. He is perfected in all the wisdoms. He abides in the wisdom of the Buddha Bhagavats, who rise in the past, present, and future. He does not abide in nirvana. He abides in the ultimate perfection. He dwells on the bhumi where he sees all sentient beings. All these are the perfect virtues of the greatness of the Buddha Bhagavat. The Holy Dharma is good at the beginning, good in the middle, and good at the end. Its meaning is excellent. Its words are excellent. It is uncorrupted. It is completely perfect and completely pure. It completely purifies. The Bhagavad teaches the Dharma well. It brings complete vision. It is free from sickness. It is always timely. It directs one further. Seeing it fulfills one's purpose. It brings discriminating insight for the wise. The Dharma, which is taught by the Bhagavad, is revealed properly in the Vinaya. It is renunciation. It causes one to arrive at perfect enlightenment. It is without contradiction. It is pithy. It is trustworthy and puts an end to the journey. As for the Sangha of the great Jnana, they enter completely, they enter insightfully, they enter straightforwardly, they enter harmoniously. They are worthy of veneration with joined palms. They are worthy of receiving prostration. They are a field of glorious merit. They are completely capable of receiving all gifts. They are an object of generosity. They are great objects of complete generosity. The protector, who possesses great kindness, the omniscient teacher, the basis of oceans of merit and virtue, I prostrate to the Tathagata. Pure, the cause of freedom from passion. Virtuous, liberating from the lower realms. This alone is the supreme ultimate truth. I prostrate to the Dharma, which is peace. Having been liberated, they show the path to liberation. They are fully dedicated to the disciplines. They are a holy field of merit and possess virtue. I prostrate to the Sangha. I prostrate to the Buddha, the leader. I prostrate to the Dharma, the protector. I prostrate to the Sangha, the community. I prostrate respectfully and always to these three. The Buddha's virtues are inconceivable. The Dharma's virtues are inconceivable. The Sangha's virtues are inconceivable. Having faith in these inconceivables, therefore the fruitions are inconceivable. May they be born in a completely pure realm. So tomorrow night, Venerable Karuna, who should have taught tonight in New York City, but New York City shut down because of the snow, graciously put aside all her appointments with heads of state to come here and teach tomorrow. It'll be very interesting. She gave me a preview today. So it'll be a very interesting talk. And there's no Tara this Saturday. So the next Dharma class will be here tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. And of course, online. I know this is difficult. We have to go through it. We committed to presenting the whole Lam Rim. This is the highest doctrine of Buddhism. Philosophically, there are other teachings that would apply these same methods so you can advance quicker, such as in Tantra, but there's no higher view than what's being presented here. So of course it's difficult, and it's not familiar to us because we're from a different society. So we have to sort through a lot of things, but we've heard it. It has its own power, and maybe not now, but in other lives, we'll see the results of this. It can't be destroyed. It's in sync with real reality. So thank you for your patience. And I know you needed a lot to listen. Sorry. It's the way it is. Anyway, anything else you want to suggest, you can text me or text Darren if you want different poems or whatever. We'll try and make it a little light with some heavy material, some poetry, some simple enumerated material like the 5 this, the 4 that. We'll do what we can. Thank you very much. Big love to all of you.